Maybe he needs money. I don't know. Maybe he is idle. Maybe he is not in the mood to do anything else. I don't know. It's hard to get into the heads of those who take these decisions. But of course, this seems a little bit strange to invite such people on the board. It's not associated with peace at all. I think that's the opinion of a lot of specialists, and not only specialists. But well, it's their decision. It's their peace. I don't know. Let them do whatever they want. It has nothing to do with the real peace on the ground, as far as we see right now. Not in the Middle East, not in any other regions. If it leads to peace in the Middle East, I don't care really personally who will be on the board. Things on the ground are those that matter. I don't want to delve into the bilateral relations between the US and Qatar. It's their matter, but of course, a lot of people were watching this kind of absolutely treacherous move of bombing headquarters of an organization during the negotiations that were held there. That doesn't look good, and I think that in the aftermath, people will still have it in mind when deciding about similar steps, or when kind of answering to certain initiatives from Israeli leadership. But it's my personal opinion. The United States, at least here in the United Nations, traditionally blame Hamas for everything. On many occasions, the United States were blocking the common efforts to press Israel to stop what it is doing in Gaza, saying always that it kind of undermines quiet diplomacy on the ground, that Hamas is to blame, that Israel is forthcoming, Hamas is not. Well, there are different opinions in this regard. We all remember that there was already at some point at the beginning of this year agreed truce. Hamas agreed everything, and when Egypt and Qatar reported that Hamas accepts the truce, but then Israel withdrew, and the United States, instead of pressing Israel, they started to blame everything on Hamas. I don't know how it will be this time, but again, the most important thing would be to stop the bloodshed in the massacre in Gaza, and I think that everything else is secondary. If they come to a deal, if they make a deal, everybody will be very much pleased to hear that. But so far, we're not there yet, and that's quite sure. We are absolutely sure that these countries have absolutely no right to trigger snapback, and we do not recognize, and we didn't recognize from the outset, that the snapback was triggered. So today, for example, we will circulate a letter indicating that all the moves by the UN Secretariat to reestablish sanctions on Iran are absolutely null and void. We do not recognize these moves. And for us, the resolution 2231, since it was not extended, it will expire on the 18th of October 2025, with all the consequences that are linked to it. So, in fact, we will now work in two kind of parallel realities. One reality created by alleged snapback, allegedly triggered by the European countries and supported by the US. And the second reality is where there is no snapback, and that's reality where we live, where we function, and we will insist very much on our version and interpretation of this situation. They want to ignore things that are uncomfortable for them, and they want to highlight things that they think are illustrative for their position. Let's not forget that the first country that breached JCPOA was the United States in 2018, when they withdrew from it, and this was a clear breach of JCPOA, and they tried to trigger snapback at this stage, but nobody supported them. Even European allies were absolutely not supportive of this move. Then Iran declared certain measures after waiting 1 year, and all these measures were taken as retaliation, first and foremost. In New York, for example, when already after this alleged snapback was triggered by the E3, they continued negotiations with Iran, and they reportedly reached a deal when Iran answered positively to their requirements, and it was about reestablishment of interaction with the IAEA, about showing this uranium that they have, enriched uranium, and also reestablishing direct contacts with the US. But when the European countries already brought this deal, said that it is there, all of a sudden, when they consulted with the US came with certain requirements which went far beyond these agreed terms, and in a very humiliating situation for Western countries, they just had to wave their hands and said that they have no deal because US is against, though US was not among those who triggered snapback. And so there is no deal, and they claim that there is snapback, but this whole situation displayed the fact that they have absolutely no say in international politics, and it's Washington who pulls the strings that enable certain action in London, Paris, and Berlin. The Western countries have forgotten about any other diplomatic tool, but about sanctions and blackmail and hand twisting. So this is very deplorable because it's not good time for classic diplomacy, for dialogue, for everything else, because they think that they can twist the hands of everybody and push them into the configuration or deal that they want to. And that's where all the sanctions came from. They proceed from the superiority of the United States, from Pax Americana, from the right of United States and its allies to impose everything they want on other countries, including the so-called rules-based international order, which shouldn't be confused with the international law. So sanctions are something from that toolbox, which is not positive. And of course, Russia is the best example that shows that these sanctions do not work. And it's very hard to implement them because there is a big irritation in the world about this policy. One thing is this golden billion, so-called the global north. The other thing is global south, which is very, very wary about sanctions, especially about secondary sanctions, and which is not forthcoming when the West tries to order big developing countries to come to heel. So this is what we face, and I don't think it's necessary to illustrate it with concrete examples. But apparently, sanctions mostly do not work in most of the cases, especially with such big and important countries like Russia.